Alrighty, folks, I can admit when I'm wrong. I've got no ego attached to this. I did a video the other day, and I thought that it was a pretty good take. It wasn't to dunk on Trump or Americans, and it certainly was not to prop up Justin Trudeau. The original video was titled Trump was bluffing about tariffs or something like that. And then it did get changed as time went on. And it's this one right here. You may have seen it. It's called Expose the Dark Truth About America or Canada, America, Almost Trade War, I think was the final title that we've ended on. And I basically just talk about how Trump was bluffing with the tariffs and the deal that was cut between Canada, between Justin Trudeau and Trump, how that was already decided back in December. That was the take that I had. I thought it was really good. Maybe it was my lack of communication or lack of clarity on actually elaborating on that. But here's what I'm here to say. This would have never happened if it wasn't for Trump. So at the end of the day, Canada would not have been spending $1.3 billion on the border. We wouldn't be fixing the border if Joe Biden ran again, if Kamala ran again, if Kamala won, if Trump never won. Canada would not be investing any substantial amount of money in the border at all, or cracking down on fentanyl. That just wouldn't be a thing until we had a change of government. So by that standard alone, it took Trump to fix Canada. Like, that's pretty sad for Canadians. It's definitely not sad for America, but it took a foreign president to actually get stuff done here in Canada, which is really pathetic for Canada. Like, that just goes to show that we're not as serious a country as we think we are. Because if we were, we would have been doing these things on our own, and we wouldn't have needed a president of another country to step in and say, okay, well, there's penalties if you don't fix these issues. So right out the gate, these tariffs spending money on this border never would have happened if it wasn't for Donald Trump. And you can find this information right on Grok. You can type it in. I typed in, would Trudeau be fixing the border if it wasn't for Trump? And there's a big write-up, but at the end of the day, right here from the points, without Trump, it's speculative, but based on the available information, Trudeau might have continued to address border issues incrementally as part of a regular policy update in response to domestic pressure. No, he wouldn't have put money into the border. However, the specific commitments and rapid deployment of resources seen in 2025 likely would not have occurred with the same urgency or perhaps even the same scope without the external pressure from Trump. So I can admit that. That's something that I didn't do a good job of explaining in my video from yesterday or the day prior. The point of the video was that these solutions were already agreed by Trump and Trudeau in December 2024, like 2 months ago, right? As you can see from this post here, this summary on Grok, when did Trump impose or threaten Canada with tariffs? Trump threatened Canada with tariffs on December 5th. When he mentioned a conversation with Canadian Prime Minister about 25% tariffs. He further escalated his threat on December 10th. Okay, so Trump just won presidency. There you go. He comes out the gate and says, hey, Canada, we're going to tax you. We're going to put tariffs on your stuff. We're going to put tariffs. And so then what did that mean? Well, the initial threat seems to be December 5th and December 10th. Within less than 2 weeks, December 17th rolled around, and this is when Canada already said we're going to be investing in our border with $1.3 billion and built around 5 pillars. We're going to do helicopters. We're going to do drones. We're going to launch 2,000 people. We're going to have drug sniffing dogs. We're going to have new chemical detection tools at ports. Like, everything that was pretty much listed out. Most of the stuff that was listed out in Justin Trudeau's message on February 3rd of this is what Trump and I just discussed, that was already laid out as far back as December 17th. And so my initial go-to response, and this is what I tried to communicate in my video a couple of days ago, is that the deal isn't really different from December to now. So when you talk about like the art of negotiation, there wasn't really, it was the same thing that they discussed like 2 months ago. But then I made that video, and it was not to dunk on America or Trump, and certainly not to prop up Trudeau. And then my phone started blowing up, and I started to get calls from friends that give me advice, watch my videos, and say, hey, let's talk about this, because I feel like there's a better spin on this. And so I listened to a lot of conversations from friends, and here we go. Trump absolutely made Justin Trudeau look like an idiot, okay? Because this is the take that I missed, and maybe this is the take that you had, but I didn't see it from this perspective. At least I didn't communicate it. December 2024, two months ago, you had a deal that was made by Justin Trudeau and Donald Trump, right? They discussed the border. Well, it wasn't a deal, but it was likely off the record conversation between Trump and saying, Trump said, here's exactly what you're going to do. Go talk about it to your people. And so he did. And so he wrote a message, 1.3 billion. Everything that Trudeau just said 2 days ago was said 2 months ago, but there's a couple extra things, okay? And then, as we heard, Justin Trudeau has been trying to get in touch with Trump. They strike a deal. Hey, partner, we're gonna fix this stuff so that you don't tax us. And Trump says, okay, we'll talk to you soon. And then he ghosts them until the final hour, until the 12th hour. Donald Trump ghosts Trudeau and doesn't remove the threat of tariffs. And that made every single Canadian politician sweat. We got to see who is really on board, like this Team Canada approach, or who wants to try and pick a fight with Trump. Justin Trudeau's response was, we're gonna have to retaliate. Even though he never said, which is kind of strange. He never said, hey, look, I spoke to Trump. He said, do 1.3 billion. So we said that we're going to do 1.3 billion, and now he's ghosting me. Trudeau never came out and said that, which is hilarious. So Trump actually put so much pressure. He ghosted him till the 12th hour, finally picked up the phone and said, okay, we're going to pause it for 30 days. And so that side of it is funny. And I didn't articulate that properly, or I think at all. It was more just focused on the fact that, hey guys, this was already discussed 2 months ago. But that's what's funny. And that's what a lot of people, I think, in the comments were trying to tell me, is this is the art of negotiations that Trump does. And so I do want to apologize. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to dunk on Trump, and I certainly again was not trying to dunk or prop up Justin Trudeau. But coming from that last minute, that 12th hour pressure tactic, you really got to see, and us Canadians really got to see. Talk about draining the swamp or flushing out all of the rats. All the politicians that immediately jumped to, well, we're going to fight back. Jagmeet Singh, he was like, let's cut off their freaking oil and their minerals. Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, let's cut off their power. He was like a psychopath, like trigger happy. Like he just wanted to inflict so much harm on American citizens. Like he was happy and smiling and saying those things. That's pretty messed up. Justin Trudeau also wanted to fight back. And there's another person who every time I say, I get in trouble and people unsubscribe because, I don't know, they're just like immune from criticism to this guy. But Pierre Poilievre also was saying a dollar for dollar response. And so Trump now has a full, this is the thing about Trump, is that his first term, he was surrounded by people that always gave him, bad advice, people that wanted to stab him in the back, people that just wanted to use him and move on. And now he has a different approach. He puts people under immense amount of pressure and stress and sees how they react. And if it's not good, then there's going to be repercussions down the road. And unfortunately for Canada, every single one of our politicians, minus Danielle Smith, did not respond the way that they should have. I was preaching from the top of a building going, stop retaliating, stop wanting to retaliate, stop the fighting. Danielle Smith is the only Canadian politician that actually, and thankfully, because she's in charge of like most of our resources with all of our oil, because that falls under provincial jurisdiction. But thankfully, that at least we have one person that kept their head on the shoulders. But it's also the only person that went down to Mar-a-Lago aside from Justin Trudeau. And so this is why I think it's so necessary for Pierre Poilievre to get his foot in the door and to go and meet Trump. It's not a winning battle. Like, you're not going to win against Trump. No country, no leader, nobody is going to win. And he just came out yesterday saying if he gets assassinated by Iran, he has contingency plans to flatten the entire place. Like, just nuke it, get rid of it. So you think that you know Trump until you find out that you don't know his next move. There's no beating him. There's no going up against him. And that was a big mistake by every single one of our Canadian politicians. And that's something that should be hopefully not repeated. But that's my opinion, folks. And I hope now that we can get back on the path, that the air has been cleared. And there is a video that I do want to watch that I just showed, like the title of the video. I don't think we actually watched it yesterday. And then that's this video right here where the White House says that Canada is bending the knee. Let's take a look at this.
Lots of reaction from officials in the U.S., including a message just a few minutes ago from the Secretary of Homeland Security.
Yeah, plenty of reaction pouring in on this pause. In Trump world, of course, they're declaring victory, saying President Trump is showing signs of strength as a negotiator, the art of the deal. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying, and I'm quoting here, Canada is bending the knee just like Mexico. Just moments ago, as you noted, Homeland Security Secretary Chrystia posting Trump is a master negotiator. This is just the beginning. Don't mess with the USA. But now the conservative-leaning Wall Street Journal just posted in an editorial moments ago saying Trump blinks on North American tariffs. The President Trump never admits a mistake, it writes, but he often changes his mind, saying that is the best way to read his decision. Now, this decision, this 11th hour agreement to pause tariffs against his neighbors for the next month, comes after both countries agreed to beef up their borders and crack down on fentanyl. But it should be noted, most of Canada's commitments were announced back in December, and Trump's critics are taking note. Watch.
Trump got rolled here. The supposed wins that he's trumpeting and his press secretary is trumpeting were already in place. I mean, you guys have reported on this as well. These were agreed to in the previous administration.
No, they were only in place because Trump had been threatening that he was going to do tariffs. So Mexico and Canada, they never had a plan, never, ever, ever had a plan to fix any of these things or put any amount of money into these investments before the threat of tariffs.
Now, White House officials accused the Canadians for not understanding the text of the executive order, saying it was all about stopping illegal drug flow into the U.S. But Canadian negotiators tell me privately that the administration was sending several mixed signals on their demands. Trump kept adding to his list of grievances beyond drugs and border, linking Canada's military spending to its trade and business practices. And even after Trump announced that 30-day reprieve, he questioned why the U.S. should trade with Canada at all. Watch.
What I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection. We don't need them to build our cars. I'd rather see Detroit. We don't need them for the cars. We don't need them for lumber. We don't need them for anything. We don't need them for energy. We have more energy than they do. We don't need them for energy. So I say, why are we doing this?
Now, leading up to this pause, we've since learned of a major pressure campaign behind the scenes at the White House. Several industries, including the powerful U.S. auto sector, were reportedly pressuring top administration officials to build carve-outs so the auto sector would be exempted from tariffs since they comply with USMCA or the NAFTA 2.0 trade deal. Some governors were getting concerned how Canada's targeted threats of retaliation could hurt their local economies. I want you to listen to Kentucky's governor, a Democrat, Andy Beshear, on the impact of his state's bourbon exports potentially being banned up north.
Number we're worried about is zero. That's how many bottles of Kentucky bourbon were going to be on shelves in Canada, which again is our #1 export partner. Listen, when anyone's policies threaten the livelihood of the people of Kentucky, I'm certainly going to speak up and speak out. And this tariff policy is a really bad idea.
So the White House ultimately agreed to the pause. And while these tariffs may be on hold for now, we know the threat isn't over. Trump's strategy to leverage the U.S. economy as a weapon to force other countries to make concessions may be causing instability. But to Trump's base, they see this as a major win for his domestic agenda.
And of course, we know that there are countries around the world that continue to watch how this situation involving Canada is unfolding.
The whole world's watching.
We know right now the U.S. is in a trade war with China, and there are 10% tariffs on Chinese imports, and Beijing is retaliating. So what's the latest on that front?
Yeah, they sure are. So this is a trade war that is now escalating between the world's two largest economies. Trump's 10% tariffs on Chinese products have already taken effect, and Beijing is retaliating with its own targeted levies, including a 15% tax on U.S. energy exports and certain metals used for electronics and solar panels. China is also looking at slapping tariffs on Tesla's Cybertruck. Now, that's a company owned, of course, by Trump ally Elon Musk. And Beijing is launching an antitrust investigation into Google. But, of course, that search engine doesn't have much presence in China since it's blocked. Other things, China is also blacklisting a big U.S.-based holding company that owns clothing brands like Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger. So from Beijing's perspective, they say these opening shots aren't meant to hurt the U.S. economy, but instead send a message that things could get worse. Now, Trump slapped these 10% tariffs on China for exporting fentanyl. The White House says Trump will speak to Chinese President Xi Jinping later this week, so we'll see if they find a compromise or spark a larger confrontation. So while the U.S.-China tariff war is underway, the EU is also nervously watching to see if they're next.
Richard, thank you for this. That is
I think later this week you're going to see, you are absolutely going to see, we're all going to see China have the exact same result as every other country. They're just going to say, okay, tell us what to do, Trump. And then the same thing is going to happen to the European Union. It is one hell of a time to be an American. It's one hell of a time to be an American adjacent, an American ally. I think that we're on a path of not having tariffs. I think that the 30 days I think this was just to establish his dominance and get Canada to comply. And see who can he trust. And at least Trump knows that he can trust Danielle Smith. And so no matter what the outcome is, I think our oil and gas is going to be pretty safe. Does this mean that Canada is going to be annexed as a 51st state? Is that still, an opportunity? Is that still an option rather for Trump? Who's to say? We don't really know how this is going to play out, but I personally think that we're going to be okay. I don't think that we're going to get hit with tariffs at the end of the day. I think that Canada should be okay. Like, we're the largest importer and exporter for America. So that says a lot. I don't think he's a businessman, so I don't think he would just blow that up. But again, he's had 4 years to think about how he'd go about these deals. He's had 4 years of reflection and planning and waiting for this. So whatever we think Trump's next move is, he's just way beyond that, 4, 5, 6 steps above and beyond that. So we're gonna have to wait and see how this plays out. But we are in for 4 years of pure entertainment and a roller coaster of emotions. That's the end of the video, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in another one. Bye for now.